Edison accountable. In response, the utility company says our hearts remain with our communities during the devastating fires. And SCE understands that a lawsuit related to the Eaton fire has been filed, but has not yet been served with the complaint.
I'm gonna spray the roof.
Koo says he tried to use his garden hose to spray down his home, but gave up within 60 seconds.
The wind was blowing so hard that the water was kind of forming an arc.
Please, God, save us, save our house.
It was sensory, everything overload.
He says between the roaring winds, embercast, and suffocating smoke, he and Cheryl had to run for their lives.
It was unbearable to be outside, and the sky had started to turn a deep orange, which I felt like that was our time to go.
Bye.
At one point, I think I had broken down because I'd said goodbye to the house and I started to sob.
Koo and his wife are currently staying at a hotel with their 2 dogs. Their home, which is in the evacuation zone, is still standing. He managed to piece together his Ring camera video and what he captured on his phone and added timestamps to show what can happen in just 34 minutes.
To just kind of hit home that you really can't delay in taking it seriously.
Earlier, SkyCal was able to capture video of some firefighters in yellow jackets working around the metal tower that is seen in the social media post with the flames. In a statement last week, Southern California Edison said that distribution lines immediately to the west of Eaton Canyon were de-energized well before the reported start time of the fire. And we have also reached out to the fire department to see if arson investigators have been sent to that tower. Right now, we are still waiting for a reply, but earlier a spokesperson did tell us that the department is going through hundreds of reports so far. For now, we are live in Altadena. Jeff Nguyen, KCAL News.
Thank you so much, Jeff. All right, breaking news here. Look at this, a new fire. This is out of the IE, and our Mike Rogers is at the desk. Mike, what can you tell us about this latest? Is this a wildfire?
It is. It's a vegetation fire. It's a river bottom fire. So it's in an area of the Harupa Valley that frequently catches fire right off Van Buren, and Harupa Avenue runs to the south of where the fire is, south of the riverbed there. What you're looking at though from the chopper is hand crews that are getting in there and they're digging things out, and you can see them working really hard. These are the wildland crews that get in there and they really cut the lines. Now the good news is the fire is looking better than it was before. So it does look like they're starting to get a handle on it. You can see them right there. They're cutting using shovels to kind of try to get the fire out as well. So this has been upgraded to a 3rd alarm fire. This is Riverside County Fire and Riverside City Fire that have crews both on scene. Now, again, the good news is it doesn't appear that there are any homes threatened. There's no evacuations at this point. And as the chopper zooms out, you see the totality of the flames
This is the reason why I've canceled my internet service provider subscription. This brand new portable Wi-Fi router provides more features than traditional internet services.
See this? I turn it on and I'm online. It's insane.
It's like owning a private mini internet powerhouse that fits in your pocket.
It's called Ryoko. No contracts,
itself out, Pat, but it's not what we want to see at all. But if you look in the shot there, you don't see any of those shrubs or bushes really blowing around too hard. We don't see embers shooting out of there like we have in the other fires we've covered in the last couple days. So hopefully crews will be able to get a handle on this pretty quick.
Yeah, and you don't see smoke burning smoke flowing horizontally. So that's another good sign there. But it's very interesting, Mike. You say these fires start in this particular area quite a bit. And what do they start from?
Well, officially this one's under investigation. I know in the past that we have dealt with homeless people that are down there in the riverbed. So we'll see if they determine if they're able to quickly determine what the cause on this one is. But yeah, this is not the first time we've flown SkyCal to a fire in the Santa Ana Riverbed in Harupa Valley.
Yeah, that's why I asked you that question, because I figured you would know why they had gone out before. And it looks like they're getting a pretty good amount of water on this fire. Thank goodness for that, Mike. You wonder, when did you hear about this?
Yeah, let me see what time the call came out. It's been, let's see if I can look through it. It's been probably about 45 minutes, I would say. and I can probably give you a better answer in just 2 seconds here while I look this up though. But yeah, it is, it's something that those crews were able to get hand crews in there as well. You don't actually see them using even right here any water.
No.
They're just digging it out, which is sometimes what you just got to do in those riverbed situations like that. And here, 1 second, I can tell you, I think, yeah, actually 442. So it's been a minute since this thing came out. They had it mapped in the 7200 block of DiMaggio, which is the neighborhood, you know, just to the south there. It's probably the first person that saw it and called 911 and saw it in the riverbed behind their home. Again, unfortunately, the residents here, I don't think are any strangers to fires in that riverbed.
Yeah, and it's a good thing that those winds have not picked up like they're supposed to later on this evening into the early morning hours. All right, Mike, thanks for that.
Thanks, Pat.
Okay, in Malibu tonight, many people are remembering the life and legacy of a local surf icon lost to the Palisades fire, known as the Malibu Man of Mystery. Randall Mayad was lovingly nicknamed the Craw by local surfers. And since his late teens, he lived in this little red home off PCH. You may have seen it. It was called the Crab Shack. He had an open door policy to anyone who needed a break from the waves or a place to crash.
When you lose someone like Craw, like, the real riches is exactly what he had. All these friendships and just that community that he nurtured and built up and wasn't even trying to do that. It was just who he was.
He lived in the same place for more than 30 years, surviving several natural disasters. His friends believe that's why he didn't evacuate. And new here at 6, Governor Gavin Newsom is proposing billions of dollars in new funding for the fire response and recovery effort. The funding calls for at least $2.5 billion for cleanup, additional wildfire preparedness, and reopening schools damaged in the fires. The proclamation signed today allows the legislature to consider and approve the funding requests without delay. Now, a rare look at what the Eaton fire looked like in the eyes of firefighters.
Dude, we're in a serious fight right now.
The dramatic body cam video speaking to the challenges they faced trying to save as many homes as possible. And they say a cat has 9 lives. Well, what about a dog? The tearful reunion that a pet owner thought would never, ever happen.
Pat, most of the campus for Avison Charter Schools Academy of Leaders, it looks like this, unrecognizable, and the smell of smoke so thick that the executive director earlier told me it feels like you can taste it. And then he looked up and saw murals in 2 classrooms untouched by flames. He smiled about that, and then came the surprise.
Careful with your step, gentlemen.
Behind Avison School's sign,
Careful of the roofing nails.
between burned classrooms and offices, Executive Director Ian McPhee
And this survived.
found laptops untouched. They are the only possessions one teacher owns. Once connected, they hold a message from strangers, 3rd graders from Miss Summers' Freedom Elementary School class in Phoenix. It moved McPhee close to tears.
Their school said that they wanted to adopt our school. It was beautiful.
What does that mean?
I mean, for them, for the students, they said, you know, clothing and blankets and letters of support, and that's all wonderful. That's where you find moments of light.
For days, he's juggled finding support for students and teachers who lost homes, while 2 blocks away, McPhee's own house is no more.
There's nothing natural about any of this.
Wednesday, his team will bring the school community together to comfort one another. They have offers to temporarily use another site for class. It's not clear when that might happen, but seeing small parts of campus survive and strangers step up to help gives them hope. McPhee says his team has no known connections to that school in Arizona that's offering support, and he can't wait to share it with his students. Reporting live in Altadena, Larry Seward, KCAL News.
So much, Larry.
Dude, we're in a serious fight right now.
Dramatic new video of what firefighters were up against battling the Eaton fire. And you can see just how smoky it was and the erratic hurricane-force winds as firefighters try to save homes. In fact, at one point, you can hear a firefighter say, "We might be tapped out," referring to the dry fire hydrants. We know that was a major issue fighting the fires. Well, these wildfires are impacting every aspect of society, and sadly, we have more devastating winds headed our way in your next weather forecast.
Absolutely, and this is what we were sort of waiting for, this next round of winds. We've been looking ahead to them. They are finally arriving here in Southern California. And as we get a look at your next weather wind gust forecast here, you will see most of the wind is really concentrated over Ventura County. And this is typical for an eastern event. These winds are easterly winds and northeasterly winds. So this is where we're expecting the target, and it's hitting the Santa Clarita Valley, looking at windy conditions from San Bernardino to Santa Ana. Of course, tracking conditions in the IE in the Jurupa Valley right now as well. In Jurupa Valley, rather, there is a brush fire that just recently broke out there, but looks like they are getting a handle on things, which is good news. Otherwise, for the basin, we are looking at pretty calm conditions. And as we get a look right here at your next weather fire forecast, I'm going to step off and show you temps in the 50s in the Palisades, which is good news. Wind calm, and looks like it could be staying that way, and we will take it. Relative humidity between 25% and 35%, so actually doing okay, while the rest of Southern California is looking at pretty bone dry conditions. Altadena a little drier at 15%, but cool at 54, and looking at just a northeasterly wind coming in at only 8 miles per hour. So that's certainly helping firefighters get a handle on things. So as we get a look at your hour by hour futurecast right here, you will see wind continuing to stay strong over Simi Valley, over parts of Ventura County, and also as we take a look right here, the red highlighting on your screen from the Antelope Valley all the way to our local mountains, San Bernardino and Riverside County mountains, looking at quite a bit of wind. Continuing to see windy conditions in the higher elevations by 3 a.m. and then by 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. We are expecting isolated winds, but the wind will stay with us. The rest of us getting a little bit of a lull, and then things pick up again by the afternoon tomorrow, and even by tomorrow evening as well. And then things sort of dissipate a bit as we head into Wednesday. But the winds really stay with us through Wednesday afternoon at this point. And by then, we are expecting to see a little bit of sort of a quieter forecast, and we will take it. Here's the thing. We were holding on to a chance that we could even get a little bit of rain. Any little drop we will take. At this point, though, that chance gone. Really not holding on to any of it anymore. We are looking at dry conditions all the way through the week and potentially all the way through the month that could make this one of the driest Januaries on record here in Southern California. We're looking at smoke. Of course, air quality continues to be a concern. We are looking at an air quality alert that's still with us.
This portable warm air blaster will be in every home in America by 2026. It can heat a 900.
Welcome back. We're learning from some more people from Western New York with family members or close friends who are affected by the wildfires in California.
And Channel 2's Ron Plants was able to speak with one woman who is seeking any help she can, any help possible for her brother who moved to the West Coast 20 years ago.
When you look at the picture, it looks like a bomb went off.
That picture of the former Altadena, California home of Western New York native Jim Futerer and his fiancee Uli, which they left in a hurried evacuation with only their 3 dogs last Tuesday night as the flames from the Eaton fire swept through their community. His sister Darlene here in Buffalo finally got in touch with him as he's staying at the cottage of a friend, his neighborhood blocked by National Guard troops to prevent looting.
One of their friends somehow was able to get back to the neighborhood, and she sent him a picture, and not just his house, but the whole neighborhood's literally gone. It's in Altadena, that's where they live, which is very middle class, very working class families. He runs his own business, and his fiancée as well has her own. But, you know, right now it's so up in the air because no income, you know, there's so many things you have to think about right now. Not only the loss of their home, but all their friends' homes and people they work with and work for. And initially, Ron, he said to me, Dara, we're okay, we don't need anything. I said, listen, don't be stupid, take the help. If you can get folks willing to help you, it's okay. Your house is gone. You gotta live off of something in the meantime. You know, we're big Bills fans, so we're hoping the Mafia can, you know, find it in their heart to help them at least get on their feet. We know everybody's in the same boat, and we know that they'll share anything they have with others if they need it. I think probably for them and the rest of the folks, it's kind of up in the air. You know, if they can rebuild, and how soon would that be? Everybody can't get rebuilt at once. So, I mean, that's going to be a long time to come back to, you know, a home again in that area.
Jim Futerer attended McKinley High School in Buffalo State before moving to California. Now, there is a GoFundMe account for him and his fiancée, which we'll put in our story at WGRZ.com. By the way, Darlene says her brother, he's a big Bills fan, fortunately did catch some of this weekend's win over Denver. A brief way to get his mind off all they're dealing with, like so many out in L.A. On your side, Ron Plants, Channel 2 News.
Yeah.
All right, welcome back. David Lazarus joining us now.
Laz, you have been getting a ton of questions from people who lost their homes about what happens with their mortgages and their taxes. And are they still on the hook for all that?
Yeah, and there's a lot of moving parts to this. It is, of course, a very fluid story. Let's get back to the mortgages in just a moment. First, let's talk about what's going to happen to property taxes if your home is significantly damaged or destroyed. I spoke earlier with LA County Tax Assessor Jeff Prang. Here's what he said.
We're going to reduce your assessment and your property taxes for damaged or destroyed property. There is a program, it is called Misfortune and Calamity, that requires me to reduce the assessed value of your property to reflect the damage or the destruction. If your home was completely burned to the ground, we're going to value the home at zero.
Now, when Assessor Prang is talking about property in this case, he's talking about the structure, your home, your garage, any other outlying structures that are there. He's not talking about the underlying land underneath. What happens with that?
Unfortunately, this reduction doesn't apply to the land, but it will affect your property. We're going to be doing this proactively, but I also want to encourage everybody to file the Misfortune and Calamity form online.
This is a very tricky business because the assessor told me that his office has looked at the assessed values on an average basis in the fire-hit areas, and it turns out roughly 2/3 of the assessed value of these properties is the land. and not the structure, which means all of those properties in the Pacific Palisades, for example, or Malibu, they're still going to be taxed at a very, very high level. And let's take a look at Prop 13. Let's say you've been in your house for decades and you've enjoyed decades of Prop 13 protections when it comes to your property taxes. If your house is destroyed, if you rebuild, do you still get the Prop 13 protections? Here's what Prang said.
You will still have your your pre-damage Prop 13 protection. So your tax base will be restored to what it was before the fire, and you can build up to 120% of what was there before without reassessment.
It's a very interesting thing, because what he's saying is if you rebuild to 100% of what you had before, in other words, pretty much the same house, your property tax doesn't change. But also you can do 20% more in the form of upgrades, let's say some wood floors or something like that. So as long as you don't go over 20% beyond the previous assessed value, you're good, and your property taxes aren't going to change. If you go above that 120% threshold, you're not really going to be in totally hot water, but those extra overages that we're talking about, those will add to your tax burden, but won't take it into an entirely market-based area. And now let's talk about mortgages. A number of viewers have been asking me, do I still have to pay my mortgage if my house burns down? And I got bad news for you. Yes, you do. A deal is a deal. Think of it like this. You finance a new car, you drive off the lot, the next day it gets stolen, you're still on the hook for your financing payments. It's the same thing with the mortgage. However, I'm happy to say that forbearance, which is basically what a fancy way of saying deferred payments, is possible from your mortgage servicer, not necessarily the bank from which you got your initial loan, but the servicer that's now handling the loan. Contact them if you're in this situation and work out some schedule whereby you can defer payments for hopefully months, if not years, until down the road. But ultimately, you will have to pay for that loan.
Something we brought up earlier today, too, with this forbearance. Say they freeze it and you don't have to pay your mortgage payment. You said the interest keeps accruing.
It does indeed. The mortgage, in fact, the terms of the loan do not change. So forbearance means you're just going to put it off for a little while. You are not rewriting the terms of the loan. So at the end of the day, you will get bit financially. And again, a deal is a deal, and so that's the problem. But I wouldn't be surprised, considering the scope of the problem here, if a number of mortgage servicers or financial firms don't come to some sort of terms on this kind of thing, because thousands and thousands of families are going to be unable to deal with this financial hit in the coming years.
I mean, there's so many different angles we can talk about with you.
And we will.
Well, talking about rental, same with rental properties. Okay, so you're lucky enough to rebuild your house. You got to live somewhere. You need to rent a house. You rent a house, but we're seeing already people are jacking up the prices on rental properties.
And remember, there are price gouging laws. Rental properties cannot go up more than 10% within 30 days of an emergency. So what we've been seeing is some properties that might have been off the market in recent months have suddenly come back. And that's not a price gouge. That's somebody just trying to get to the market value. And supply and demand says there's a lot of demand out there.
Yep.
All right.
Seen a lot of that on Zillow, where these houses are like, wait, what? That's they maybe it's a second home, and they're like, oh, well, let's put it up for rent, $10,500 in.
And keep in mind, when we have an influx, a huge influx of laborers to help deal with the rebuilding, where are they going to stay, and at what price? These are questions we'll have to address in days and weeks ahead.
We are one of the largest and most trusted heating and air conditioning companies here in the area, and for the month of January, we have an inventory clear out sale going on where we can get you a brand new furnace or heating system for $0 down and just $83 a month. If you guys are interested, if you'd like the details, again, this is the month of January, an inventory clear out sale. Just click the link below. It's going to take you to a page that asks you 1 or 2 quick questions. Answer those, and then we'll text you over the details.
This bird's eye view here of this FEMA command center where they are building a virtual tent city just next to the Malibu Country Mart near the Malibu Farmers Market land there. It is a massive lot where they are going to be here for the long haul, bringing in responders from all over the place. As you know, workers are coming in from all over the country and will be here for an extended period of time. But this just gives you an idea of just, this is about as close as they could possibly get all the way out here to the country.
The Ergo Smart Base from Tempur-Pedic automatically responds to snoring. So no more hiding under your pillow, because this system actually detects snoring, then adjusts to help reduce it. Save up to $500 now on select adjustable.
Get ready, back here. You can walk around, get your stuff, and come over.
That get to my head. I don't care, I paint the town red.
Oh, you need ladies. I just needed to come out and do something to help people. I don't... Sorry, I feel so bad for the people. So, just wanted to come help somebody.
Need more people to help
Earlier, we've had an amazing support system, and so we'll be okay. Everyone's healthy, everyone's safe. But as I mentioned earlier, every single friend I have, 30 friends have lost their homes. My 5-year-old school is burned down. My 3-year-old's preschool is burned down. The place they went to gymnastics is burned down. The place they had art classes, the place they did music class, the library, like every single thing is gone. And I don't know if people really can understand that from these pictures, but it is a failure of just epic proportions, and it just can never happen again.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so upset.
Yeah, we all feel for you, James Barrow. We appreciate you coming on, sharing your story, and of course we wish you the absolute best, and lean on us in any way that you need to help provide support, for sure. Thanks so much, James.
I appreciate it.
All right, we'll be right back.
With your first alert forecast. I'll send it back over your way.
All right, Melissa, thank you for that. Law enforcement from across LA County say they are working together now to protect the victims of the fires so they are not victimized again, and have already started working and filing criminal charges against some of the suspected looters. Our investigative reporter Eric Leonard joins us from the Hall of Justice downtown LA right now. Eric, these are just some of the cases that police and federal agents as well, the feds are working on this. You really see the breadth of support in all of this.
That's right, Colleen. We saw a number of representatives from local and federal agencies here, all together, all working on a single goal, which is to protect Southern California from the lawbreaking that could follow a fire like this, or the fires like this. And they're looking at a number of areas. For one, obviously, the feds focused on the cause of these two largest fires. Second, they're working to protect the property of everybody who's had to evacuate and may be out of their homes for days or weeks. And third, they're also trying to do something about what they say are near constant personal drone flights within the restricted airspace of these fire areas that continue to interfere with firefighting, sometimes even preventing water-dropping flights that could be so critical in the next day or two. But let's go back to that first question, which is the cause of these fires. Clearly, that's what's on everyone's mind. The U.S. Attorney announcing today that members of the ATF National Response Team, which is the group within ATF that investigates the cause of major disasters and fires, is finally on the ground. I believe that's what we've seen from News Chopper 4 out in the Palisades this afternoon. Here's what the U.S. Attorney had to say about their goals right now.
We are speaking on behalf of ATF. We are coordinating with ATF on the investigation and any potential prosecution. We are at the initial stages of this time, so we ask for patience as we go through this investigation. Everything is on the table in terms of the investigation. The investigation is its early stages.
Don't you have any number of investigations?
We are investigating all the fires for potential arson.
Those investigators were on scene in the Pacific Palace, on the ground in Southern California, and that's where they believe the fire began about a week ago. Again, they're part of the ATF's National Response Team, and the group that was sent here has particular expertise in wildland fires. So far, as you heard, nothing's been ruled out. The feds are working with the local investigators from LA City Fire, who were the ones who were first on scene and gathered the initial evidence. Next, we heard from the LA County District Attorney. He said charges have already been filed against the first group of suspected looters arrested in the first days after the fire. Among them, accused thieves who are suspected of burglarizing homes both in Altadena and the Palisades fire areas. One group of burglars was caught on Ring video inside a home in the Palisades where it's believed they stole valuables worth more than $200,000 while the neighborhood was under an evacuation order. The Santa Monica Police Department told us today it's made upwards of 40 arrests, those ranging from looting accusations, burglaries, curfew violations, and so that number continues to climb. I think we've calculated at least 80, maybe close to 90 arrests in the last week, and that number continues to grow. And then lastly, the FBI says it is working to work backwards from the wreckage of a drone that was found after it collided with a super scooper water-dropping airplane over the Palisades fire last week, and they have agents out trying to track down the owner of that drone. They say they're on the trail, and the FBI warns that anyone else who's doing this is going to get caught. In fact, they say agents are looking through social media posts where people are posting their own drone videos over the fire areas, and they're working backwards, possibly with subpoenas and search warrants, to find those people. Flying drones over restricted areas is against the law, and they could face significant federal charges. A fourth area that all the law enforcement says they're looking into has to do with fraud. They're warning that between price gouging and people trying to abuse federal relief money or possibly trying to set up phony charities, all of these are areas that both local and federal agents are very focused on right now. The LA City Attorney's Office has set up a special price gouging hotline. That's an area that the City Attorney's Office is uniquely focused on and has the jurisdiction to prosecute. That number, we'll make sure that number is in our digital reporting today. Also, the federal government, very interested in relief money fraud. You'll remember back during the COVID-19 pandemic, months into it, we started learning about all kinds of individuals and even some small businesses that were accused of filing false applications and collecting, in some cases, millions of dollars in relief money fraudulently. Well, the FBI is very focused in this area. They want to make sure that everybody that's going to be receiving federal relief money, both individuals and small businesses through the Small Business Administration, are entitled to it. FBI agents are working on that. And then they also warn about potential phony charities. People from all over the world have been watching the coverage, watching the utter devastation in Southern California, and are eager to do something about it. The Fed saying, please make sure you know who you are giving money to. In the past, fraudsters have set up phony charities that have names reminiscent of legitimate ones to try to divert some of the money to themselves. In other cases, they set up new entities trying to collect some of that money. All of those things, part of the focus of all of the investigators we saw here today. Live at the Hall of Justice, I'm investigative reporter Eric Leonard, NBC4 News. Back to you.
All right, Eric, thank you. Well, these fires have not only destroyed homes, they've also taken lives. As of this hour, at least 24 people have died in the Eden and Palisades fires. These are pictures of just some of the victims right here. And there are several people who are still reported missing. NBC4's Lolita Lopez live for us in Altadena, where she spoke with a man who lost his sister to the Eden fire. Lolita.
Yeah, Michael, and these victims are fathers, mothers, sisters, and of course, like you said, the man that we spoke to from New Mexico remembers his sister fondly. She lived here in Altadena for decades, and he tells us that she hated the wind. So on the night before the Eden fire, she went to sleep and died in her home.
Besides being my big sister, she was like mom.
From his home in New Mexico, Mark Winnicky remembers his older sister, Kim. He tells us he received the confirmation Sunday afternoon that the 77-year-old died in her Altadena home during the Eaton fire.
She really liked her home. She loved it there. So,
in some ways, if it is her resting place, it would be peaceful for her because it is hers.
Yes, I do believe that.
He says she worked for the phone company most of her life and found light, even when things seemed dark.
Whatever was the mood of the day, she was normally the one that would make light of whatever problems that I thought were problems, and she'd usually figure out how to say, you know, it's not that important, don't worry about it.
It is difficult. I mean, obviously, delivering the bad news to the family members.
Eric Hernandez is here from Napa County to support the efforts at the Eaton fire, including search and rescue.
Crews continue going through property to ensure that, to see if there's any additional people that are found.
Do you get reports from family members? How is it that you are understanding where to go?
Yeah, so there's different things. One is typically the family members or acquaintances are reporting missing people. They work directly with our law enforcement partners, and then they send out a dispatch SAR and USAR. USAR is urban search and rescue, so we have teams from fire departments that are specialized in going in rural areas, very confined space areas. In addition to that, we also have dogs that are qualified to assist in that particular mission.
A mission to bring closure to so many people like Mark, who smiles thinking of his sister.
She was just a good, warm-hearted person that there's not many of those like that out there. I'd all be so lucky to have a sister like that.
And the search continues out here in Altadena as well as the Pacific Palisades. Here, the home behind me is a scene we're seeing quite often. A sheriff's deputy waiting here guard at a home where a person is believed to have been passed away, and then waiting for authorities to come here and do that difficult task of making a confirmation. In Altadena, Lolita Lopez, NBC4 News.
Lolita, thank you for that. We let you know you have less than 1 hour today to go and take advantage of assistance centers that have been set up by FEMA. This is a look at some of the video from the location at the West Hollywood Library that's on San Vicente Boulevard. These centers are scheduled to close at 5 today. Government officials were on hand to help people impacted by the wildfires, help them with disaster relief. That's the first step. Senator Adam Schiff said this afternoon the recovery on this will require sustained effort, and he urged insurance companies to move quickly with claims.
We completed our registration in about 20 minutes, and because they're experienced with disasters, he kind of gave us a roadmap of what to expect in the coming weeks or months. But this is a totally different kind of disaster. Everything's burned. I mean, there's nothing to salvage at all, zero.
Officials also want you to be on the lookout for scams. They say don't trust anyone who asks you or pressures you for money. These FEMA centers will be transitioning into 2 local assistance recovery centers that will open on Wednesday. One will be located at the Pasadena City College and the other one at UCLA Research Park, formerly the Westside Pavilion. Services will be available to people who have lost their records, things like birth certificates, a driver's license, social security cards. Those centers will operate from 9 in the morning till 8 in the evening, 7 days a week.
All right, next here at 4, people who lost their homes are suing Southern California Edison. Details on the first wildfire lawsuits and the videos home really want people to see.
And if you'd like to help with the wildfire relief efforts, NBC4 is affected here. You can go to NBCLA.com or call the number you see on your screen.
YouTube Premium is ad-free YouTube and the YouTube Music app all together. Try 1 month free.
What I gotta fix? If I'm not broken, what I gotta fix? What I gotta fix? What I gotta
You break it, we take it. At Verizon, anyone can trade in any phone in any condition guaranteed and get Samsung Galaxy S24 for everyone in the family. Only on Verizon.
Night right through your Wednesday, the peak intensity that we're really focused on, and this is really for LA and Ventura County. Gusting anywhere from 50, isolated spots up to 70 miles per hour. The issue is that it is really, so new or existing fires will spread very quickly across much of our region. So we've got wind alerts to tell you about. In the tan shaded color here, that's a wind advisory for much of Orange County and the Inland Empire. Then the mustard shaded color here, that's where we've got the high wind warning. So that's up through the San Gabriel valleys, right through Santa Clarita, up the 5, down across areas in Ventura County as well. This will not come down until 6 p.m. on Wednesday. Already starting to see those gusts outside right now. It will get stronger later on tonight. Nearly 40 miles per hour in Santa Clarita, 33 miles per hour in Oxnard, 28 miles per hour in Ontario. We've got a gust in Santa Ana coming in at 25 miles per hour, but the concern later on will be out across areas in LA and Ventura County. So satellite and radar showing you it's mostly clear. It's quiet. Hard to believe that we've got another round of wind on the way, but we'll show you the setup and why things are occurring in the atmosphere. Essentially, we've got some cold Santa Ana winds moving in out across the mountains, and these winds race through the mountains down across the foothills, and as it does so, that's when we will start to see the strongest winds through the mountains and the foothills. As it downslopes west of the mountains, that air with that northeasterly wind, it does, relatively speaking, warm at the surface. It compresses and it dries everything out at the atmosphere. That's why we've got a big concern for the rapid increase of fires, because conditions are really dry across much of Southern California. So let's time this out for you. Wind gust futurecast showing you later on tonight, really starting to peak, and now it's in some of those wind-prone spots across much of Southern California. Close to 40 miles per hour in Simi Valley, 43 miles per hour later on tonight in Moore Park. And you notice it is void of areas where we're dealing with the Palisades fires. So when we say wind-prone spots, that's out across areas that typically see them. Santa Clarita Valley, down across areas in Ventura County, and even across into our Tuesday and Wednesday as well. No matter where you are, however, air quality is a big concern. The air is moderate in a lot of spots, but where we're dealing with the Palisades fire and out across areas in Ventura County, we've got air that is unhealthy for sensitive groups. A reminder to monitor your time outdoors and wear one of those P95 masks or a P100 mask. LA Basin tomorrow and at 68, 65 for the coast. We're tracking those winds over the next 3 days, although we've got lots of sunshine on the way. 68 degrees for the valley, 66 for the IE. Strong winds even as we get into the first half of the day on Wednesday. Then we'll clear it out as we get into the latter half of this week. High desert spots 56, 68 for the low desert. The winds will ease as we get into Thursday and Friday. More of an onshore flow develops and we'll start to cool it down by then. We've got more details to come coming up with the rest of your first alert forecast. I'll send it back over your way.
All right, Melissa, thank you. Group of Altadena residents now suing Southern California Edison over the Eaton fire. This one has burned more than 7,000 buildings, including homes and schools and businesses. Lawsuit claims that fire was caused by SoCal Edison's power lines. However, Edison says they are not to blame. Reporter Dana Williams joins us live from the newsroom right now with more on that. Dana?
Colleen, while people try to grapple with what happened, they're looking for answers as to why it happened. We spoke to a couple just yesterday who say they may have captured video of the first flames that later became the Eaton fire, and that same video is now being used in connection with that lawsuit you just mentioned.
Oh my God.
Jeffrey Koo says he took this video from his front lawn in Altadena on Tuesday night, right at the time the Eaton fire appeared to be starting.
A nightmare horror movie. You just don't ever want to see something like that. And it was so close. That tower is very close to our house.
Screenshots of this video are included in the lawsuit filed by Robertson and Associates on behalf of nearly a dozen named Altadena residents. The lawsuit claims the fire in Eaton Canyon was caused by Southern California Edison's power equipment when it created an electrical arc spread into the community.
Edison has done better over the years, but obviously there's no margin for error. And here, despite the National Weather Service issuing the highest level warnings that they issue of particularly dangerous situation, of life-threatening extreme fire risk weather, they chose not to de-energize their circuits in the Altadena, Pasadena area.
A spokesperson for SCE shared a statement with NBC4 News in response to the lawsuit. It says, in part, SCE understands that a lawsuit related to the Eaton fire has been filed but has not yet been served with the complaint. SCE will review the complaint when it is received. The cause of the fire continues to be under investigation. Earlier in the week, the company also said the power lines to the immediate west of Eaton Canyon were de-energized well before the start of the fire, and that they did not find any anomalies in energized lines in 12 hours leading up to its start. Still, they filed a report for the Eaton fire to the California Public Utilities Commission to investigate.
There's really no precedent for it. The devastation is just hard to wrap your head around when you just look, blocks in every direction, and there's just everything's gone.
The attorney who you just heard from says even though the plaintiffs have insurance, it's more than likely not going to cover all of the costs they've had to incur over the last week. So the hope is for the suit to help cover that remaining gap. Reporting from the newsroom, I'm Dana Williams.
And I'm Olivia Garvey, live here at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. The Rams are about to take on the Vikings in a Monday night NFC wildcard showdown. It has been an unbelievable week for our city and this team, and I'm going to catch up with team president next.
Nothing makes a guy.
Oh, no.
That's my song with my lyrics on Apple Music streaming. And I did it with DistroKid.
Getting your music into 150 stores, all the major streaming services.
We're talking Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, Tidal, you name it.
And my favorite, sending 100% of your earnings to you directly.
Do I gotta spell it out for you? Go download.
crews who are doing incredible work down there. The flames look a lot better than they did about 15 minutes ago. So there are reports that forward progress has been stopped. Again, this is in Riverside County, Jurupa Valley Fire. We'll keep a watch. In the meantime, let's talk to Adam Kruger about those winds.
Yeah, seemingly small brush fire that I think they have under control there. I was also watching earlier the dozer just kind of plow the brush around that, making a perimeter as well. So winds in this area, and you see the smoke drifting a little bit. We've seen gusts around that area, Jurupa Valley to near Riverside, gusting a little over 20 miles per hour. Breezy, but not as strong as the winds we'll get as we go into tomorrow and Wednesday. That's when this next event really peaks. But notice even right now, while it's quite calm around a lot of Los Angeles, we do see some of the higher elevations with some gusts as high as 30 to 40 miles per hour right now. And that's why currently there's a red flag warning. And you see how it extends over a large part of our area, but does exclude a portion of LA County down through a portion of Orange County as well, because in those locations, the winds won't meet the criteria for a red flag warning. Winds will be a little bit lower there. But then we have these two pockets right here circled in the pink lines. That's where the red flag warning will switch to what we call a particularly dangerous situation, which is just a designation for the most extreme red flag warning events. That goes into effect for these areas at 4 a.m. tomorrow, last through noon on Wednesday. So that gives us a pretty good idea of when the strongest winds are likely to be, and a lot of that, the extremely strong winds we had when all this started last week. But still, this would be considered an extreme Santa Ana wind event on the way for Tuesday and into early Wednesday. All right, so we talked a lot about winds. We'll wrap up our forecast with a look at temperatures, because another thing that tends to happen when the air is quite dry like it is now, it actually cools down a lot at night. You see some low 40s, near 40-degree temperatures around LA. Look up to the north, teens and 20s up around the desert to Big Bear as well. So cold stuff there in the morning, and then as we go into tomorrow afternoon, we've got 60s to near 70-degree high temperatures for tomorrow. And by the way, there is unfortunately no rain in sight for really the entire West Coast, but certainly it looks like around here over the next 7 days. Fox 11 News will be right back after this break.
The last two winters in SoCal were the two wettest back-to-back on record. That led to flooding and the growth of grass and brush. Then last summer was California's hottest ever recorded. And to make matters worse, since September, Southern California has had its driest start to the winter on record.
Vegetation season and strong Santa Ana wind season. Had we seen significant or widespread precipitation in the weeks and months leading up to this event, we would not be seeing the extent of devastation we are currently seeing. This is the same story, by the way, of what happened in Paradise with the Camp Fire. That's where the climate change connection is.
So Santa Ana winds are a natural event, but you mix them with climate change, and this is what can happen. It's also important to note that of the 20 most destructive wildfires in California history, 15 of them have happened in the last 10 years. And we can already add the Palisades fire to that list. That is where climate change is taking us. In Los Angeles, I'm meteorologist Chase Kane. If you're feeling worried, stressed, anxious, or even depressed because of climate change, you should know you are not alone. I've previously shared my struggle with this. I'm one of them, and it's the same for millions of other people. I mean, new research published in The Lancet shows that 43% of Gen Z Americans say climate emotions are impacting their mental health. 85% of Gen
NBC4 News at 7 starts with breaking news.
It has been nearly 1 week since the Palisades and the Eaton fires started. More than 15,000 firefighters continue to work around the clock, with more still on the way. And tonight, there is a new threat.
Firefighters are bracing for more strong winds overnight and into tomorrow. Meteorologist David Baker is tracking what you need to know. David.
And Michael and Colleen, as we go through the next couple of hours.
But first, here's a look at the latest numbers on the fires. The Palisades fire has burned nearly 24,000 acres, containment 14%. Meantime, the Eaton fire has burned more than 14,000 acres, 33% containment here. The death toll stands at 24 across LA County, Tens of thousands of people are still under evacuation orders. Also, if you live in the 90272 zip code or adjacent communities north of San Vicente Boulevard, the LADWP says do not drink the tap water. There could be fire-related contamination in the water system. And the same is true for areas around the Eaton fire as well.
Now, like we said, more winds are expected to return overnight. Let's bring in David Bigger right now, tracking the next round of winds headed our way. David.
Yeah, Michael and Colleen, we are looking at some wind out there right now, but we have some additional wind coming our way through the overnight hours for tonight. I wanted to quickly start off by just showing you the conditions around two of the big fires. You can see for the Palisades fire, we've got some wind gusts up into about the 18-mile-per-hour range, so fortunately not too strong across some of our ridgetop observation sites. Same for Malibu Creek, and around Santa Monica, the winds are relatively calm. That's all very good news for firefighters tonight. As you take a look around the Eden fire, it is still very dry out there. We've got humidities running in the teens and the low 20% range, but we've only got light winds right now pretty much around all of our observation sites. Again, very good news for the firefighters. As we take a look at the current gusts across the region, you can see that south of Tacoma Pass, we've got a couple of gusts in the 20 to 30 mile per hour range. We've got some gusts as well across LA and Ventura County wind prone spots, but it does look like as we go through the next couple of hours tonight that the winds will likely pick up. So we still have fire weather across the region all the way through Wednesday. We'll have the Santa Ana winds through Wednesday as well. So for all the shaded areas you see here, we're under a red flag warning through 6 p.m. The combination of the winds and low humidity making for high fire danger. I want to point out the San Gabriel Valley has now been included with this red flag warning. Originally, the San Gabriel Valley, along with the basin, completely clear of the red flag warning, but it has been extended into the San Gabriel Valley. Within the red flag warning itself, we also have what's called a particularly dangerous situation. This speaks to the strong winds that we'll see as we go through the next couple of hours, potentially downing some trees, but especially leading to some erratic and extreme fire behavior if we get any new fire starts. I'll have details on the winds coming up in just a few minutes. Back to you, Michael.
All right, David, thank you. I want to give you a live look at the weather conditions in the San Fernando Valley right now. Our coverage of this next windy event continues with NBC4's Camila Rambaldi in Porter Ranch.
You can hear the winds picking up Monday afternoon in Porter Ranch. The San Fernando Valley is bracing for another round of strong winds over the next couple of days. People who live in this area say they are staying alert and ready to go.
Porter Ranch is so windy, so I'm always worried. We are making sure we keep food in the house, those kind of basic things, but making sure we watch the news and stay updated with all the updates from the fire department.
This is Letitia Bender with her son, Caden.
I'm just a little worried for the people that lost their homes because of the fire. And I just hope that it doesn't come anywhere near us.
We also caught up with Gloria Santos. She says she has already set aside important items in case she needs to evacuate.
This fire could start any place, any area. Documents and some clothes, medications, and that's all pretty much.
The message here is to remain prepared. In Porter Ranch, Camila Rambaldi, NBC4 News.
All right, so here's what you should have in your wildfire go bag. A pair of glasses or contact lenses if you need them, copies of your IDs like your driver's license and passport, any prescription medications you might be taking, a USB drive with photos of your valuables in case you need to file an insurance claim, a flashlight, a paper map, and some cash.
Now, as fire crews work to get more containment on the Palisades fire, we found this today. Investigators working to figure out how it started. Today, News Chopper 4 spotted arson investigators in Skull Canyon.
Discover new music with a swipe on the YouTube Music app.
Started by accident. Finding out the cause could and may take months.
All right, we have some new information tonight on those criminal charges announced against the people accused of looting and burglary in the wake of these fires. LA County District Attorney Nathan Hochman says 10 people are now facing charges. 9 of them are linked to looting and burglary, and 1 person has been charged with arson. Now, bear in mind here, this arson charge is not associated with any of the major fires in California. Accountability in LA County is alive and well.
And for those that left their home and it's still standing, their greatest fear is they're going to go back and it's going to be looted. The fact that you are prosecuting and recognizing that there are victims beyond what anyone even realizes is refreshing.
LA County Sheriff Robert Luna reminding people again to